So what is silicosis? Silicosis is a type of lung disease caused by breathing too much crystalline silica dust. Silica is found in some types of stone, rock, sand, and clay. If you work with these materials, you can easily breathe it into your lungs. Very fine silica dust scar your lungs and result in loss of lung function. So what is silica? Silica naturally exists in the environment. Silica is a chemical consisting of silicon and oxygen and can exist in many forms. All silica contain the same chemicals but can have different structure. Silica divide into larger groups, which are crystalline silica and amorphous silica. Quartz is the most common type of crystalline silica. There are others, but those are less notable. These are the type of silica. That's a lot of type actually, but we got a 3 type, which is sand, quartz, and concrete.
Now we are going to talk about background of silicosis. Silicosis is a lung disease caused by breathing in fire dust from crystalline silica, which is found in sand, rock, and quartz. Even in ancient times, workers like miners and short stonecutters had lung problems from dust, although people didn't know the cause. In the 15,000, an Italian doctor named Bernardino Ramazzini noticed that workers were getting sick from dust and wrote about it. In the 18,000s, as factories and mining increased, more workers got sick, and doctors realized that the dust was the cause. The word silicosis was first used in 1817 by a doctor named Eschel Visconti. In the 1913, by one of the worst silicosis disaster happened in West Virginia, USA, when hundreds of workers died while building a tunnel with no proper safety measures. Next is basic toxicology terms. First is toxin. A toxin is something harmful to the body. In the case of silicosis, silica dust is the toxin that damages the lungs. Second is exposure. Exposure means being around something harmful. Silicosis happens when a person breathes in silica dust over a long period of time. Third is inhalation. Inhalation means breathing something in. Silicosis is caused by inhaling tiny silica dust particles into the lungs. Fourth is carcinogen. A carcinogen is something that can cause cancer. Silica dust is carcinogen because it can increase the risk of the lung cancer. And the last one, cumulative effect. The cumulative effect is when damage builds up over time. Silicosis happens because of long-term exposure to silica dust.
There are some short-term effects of early exposure to silica, such as persistent dry cough, shortness of breath during activity, chest discomfort or tightness, fatigue or weakness. Long-term exposure to silica dust can cause serious health effects. The most well-known is silicosis, a lung disease that leads to scarring and breathing difficulties. Other conditions include lung cancer, COPD, kidney disease, tuberculosis, and autoimmune disorder. These can develop slowly or suddenly, depending on the level and duration of exposure. There are several industries where workers are at high risk of inhaling silica dust. First is construction. Activities like cutting tiles, grinding concrete, and drilling walls or floors can release a large amount of dust. Second is sandblasting, which use high-pressure air to clean or etch surface. Since beach sand contains high silica content, it produces extremely fine dust that is easy to inhale. Next is mining and quarrying. Operations such as blasting and crushing rocks release large amount of respirable silica dust, especially in open pit or underground sites. Lastly, We have foundries, where molding sand often contains silica. During process like shakeout and sand handling, dust is released, made worse by the hot environment. In Malaysia, the occupational exposure limit for respirable crystalline silica, specifically quartz, is 0.1 mg per cubic meter of air, averaged over an 8-hour workday. This limit is set by the Department of Occupational Safety and Health (DOSH) to reduce the risk of silicosis and other lung disease. To reduce the harmful effect of silica exposure, we need to apply multiple layers of control. These include engineering control, administrative control, personal protective equipment, and regular monitoring. First, engineering control. These are the first line of defense. They physically reduce dust at the source. For example, using wet method, like spraying water while cutting concrete. It helps prevent dust from becoming airborne. Other than that, local exhaust ventilation, or LEV, capture dust where it's generated. In high-risk area, isolating or enclosing dusty process can keep others safe. Second, administrative control. Administrative control involves planning and behavior. Rotating workers help limit the time spent in high exposure zone. Next, good housekeeping, like using HEPA filter vacuum instead of dry sweeping. It can reduce settle dust. And of course, training is a must, so every worker understands the risks and safety work procedure. Third one is personal protective equipment, PPE. PPE is the last defense. If dust can be fully eliminated, worker must wear approved respirators such as N95 or P100 mask. Other than that, coverall or disposable clothing help prevent dust from sticking to skin or being taken home. Fourth, monitoring and surveillance. Regular air quality monitoring ensures silica level remain within safe limit. Meanwhile, medical surveillance like lung function tests can detect early sign of illness even before symptoms appear. Last, substitution. When possible, we should use safe alternative like non-silica abrasive in blasting. This eliminates the hazard altogether. So this is the example of hierarchy form that we need to fill in.
Lastly is conclusion. Chronic exposure to fine silica can cause silicosis, a progressive and irreversible lung disease. An 85-year-old case of the disease showed that pleural effusion can occur after more than 17 years of exposure. Silica compounds were detected in pleural fluid through elemental analysis. How to prevent this from happening is emphasizing the need for PPE use, health monitoring, then early prevent action. Also, raise awareness about psychological effect and long-term consequences.